Welcome to Moments Captured with Mark. It's January 2026. There's a cold start to the mornings, and in the gardens burst alive with activity. Coming up at the end of January, the annual Big Garden Birdwatch. This year it's from the 23rd to the 25th of January. Search for Big Garden Birdwatch. In preparation for what I thought I would do, get my camera, get the Merlin app on my phone, set up the mic at the far end of the garden, and over this period of a couple of days record for say an hour the birds that come visit the garden, and then record them as part of this video. I produced this list of the birds and collated over a couple of days. I'm very keen to see all of these. What I noticed when looking out of the window is the general behaviours of the birds going to the feeder. We have a large hedge at the back of the garden, and I just kept an eye on those, took a few pictures and a little bit of video. Here are the species I identified during the first round of looking out the window. And one of my personal favourites is the long-tailed tit. They only come into the garden very, very briefly and leave again. One of the great things about my camera is that it does have a remote which can be controlled and triggered by the phone, so I decided to set up at the back of the garden facing the feeder, see what footage I could get. And one of the things I'll highlight is that I invested in a Fujifilm camera that is weather sealed, and so is the lens, so I've no fear there of the weather conditions that January throws at the UK. I also observed a pattern that usually the birds tend to feed a little bit around the break of day. They also tend to come just before and just after any fluctuations in the weather, so things like rain. And with the camera being remote, it gave me the benefit the birds, once settled in, continue their behavioural patterns, of which I found some that I wanted to focus in a little bit more on. I was also quite surprised to see that the weather conditions can just change within a matter of 20 minutes from a nice brightish sunny day for January into snowy conditions. Training the camera on a particular area is something new to me. It seems a little bit unusual that I'm not out there with the camera looking around, but I think the bird behaviour becomes so much richer by staying out the way. Both people and wildlife sigh relief as the weather starts to get a little bit warmer and the garden starts to thaw. One of the patterns of behaviour that I did spot was a blue tit, or a couple of blue tits that kept going to and from a fatsia to the feeder, and they did this fairly frequently throughout the day. Obviously the fatsia with its large leaves provides some good shelter. One thing that I did notice is that the birds weren't bathing. Obviously the water sources are frozen, so I did try my best to keep those fresh. Certainly the wildlife can have a drink. I kept the feeder regularly topped up. Obviously this time of year it's really cold, and you can imagine that the wildlife really needs to keep their energy up. I have a great appreciation for the producers of wildlife television. They have to take an awful lot of footage and then sift through it for the little bits of action and the stories that transpire. I personally learnt a lot about the videography for wildlife, nature photography. Love them or loathe them, grey squirrels are part of our common garden view. I think being vigilant and spending time looking out of the window helps spot unusual things that are not readily identifiable. And then doing a little bit of research can help you identify things like this bank vole, where I thought it was a mouse. As the days got a little bit brighter, I thought I would experiment and push the boundaries of what the cameras could do in the given light. In summary, our garden seems to be flurrying with activity. I was really impressed with the amount of birds that I had managed to see in the days following the initial ID using Merlin ID app. So I hope you've enjoyed this video on moments captured with Mark. And for the Big Garden Birdwatch, you enjoy sitting for an hour looking out the window and enjoying what nature has to offer in your area. Until next time, take care.